Hi guys, we are starting Chapter 4, Population Ecology, Section 1, Population Dynamics. There are only 2 sections in this chapter, so this will go pretty quick. Here are the essential questions. What are the characteristics of populations and how are they distributed? What are the differences between density-independent and density-dependent limiting factors? What are the similarities between the different models used to quantify the growth of population? And how does carrying capacity affect reproductive rates? Here are the vocabulary terms that you should have already written in your notebook. Population characteristics. Populations are groups of the same species in the same area. Characteristics of population include their density, their distribution, and their growth rate. So how tightly compacted are they? Are they very close together? Are they very spread out? Are they clumped together as far as distribution? And does their population grow very quickly or very slowly? The number of organisms per unit area is the population density. It will tell you the species, the number, and the area that they cover. So here we see 1 bear per several hundred square kilometers. American bison, 4 bison per kilometer squared in northern Yellowstone in 2000, and 10 deer per kilometer squared in some areas of the northeastern United States. So it will tell you the number of the population and the area that they are found in. Here are population characteristics. This chart or this infographic over here is in your notes. Spatial distribution. Dispersion is the spacing pattern of populations. It can be uniform, clumped, or random. Here we have uniform with black bear distribution. In yellow, we have bison distribution where they are clumped together. And down here in blue, we have white-tailed deer distribution, which is random. Generally, these patterns are driven by resources such as food, water, habitat. Population characteristics. Population ranges. A species range is its distribution across the environment. A species might not be able to expand its population range because it cannot survive the abiotic conditions found in the expanded region. So there might not be enough food, there might not be enough water, there might not be enough habitat that they can live in. Population limiting factors. Limiting factors are biotic or abiotic forces that keep populations from increasing indefinitely. They can be either density independent or density dependent. Density independent factors are any factor in the environment that does not depend on the number of members in a population in that area. That is density independent. These include weather events, fire, human alterations of the landscape, air, land, and water pollution. So basically anything that is outside of the organism's control. Generally, they are weather-related or some kind of abiotic factor. Density-dependent factors are any factor in the environment that depends on the number of members in a population per unit area. These are often biotic and include predation, so the number of predators present in that area, disease, how easily the disease can be transferred from organism to organism. Competition. Are they fighting over a place to live? Are they fighting for mates? Are they fighting over food? And parasites. If you have a large population and a parasite gets into that population, they have lots of potential hosts and they are going to replicate, they're going to make copies of themselves, they're going to reproduce, and they are going to infiltrate that whole population. Population limiting factors. Population growth rate, or PGR, explains how fast a given population grows. Natality, birth rate of a population in a year. Immigration, with an E, number of individuals moving away from a population. And immigration, with an I, number of individuals moving into a population. Those influence the population growth rate. Growth rate models. Here we have an exponential growth model. This occurs when the growth rate is proportional to the population size. All populations grow exponentially until they encounter a limiting factor. So you'll see down here we have a lag phase, and these are probably when they're getting established in their ecosystem, and then they start reproducing. So you have one mouse that reproduces with several mice. Then those mice reproduce, and the population just increases. It doubles every single generation. That's where we get the exponential growth. Logistic growth model occurs when a population's growth slows or stops following exponential growth. So here we have our exponential time period. It's approaching the carrying capacity, so the population is going to level off. A population stops increasing when the number of births is less than the number of deaths, or when the number of organisms leaving the area or immigration is greater than the immigration or organisms moving into. Carrying capacity. Carrying capacity is the maximum number of individuals in a species that an environment can support. So you'll notice that this population has met its carrying capacity. Reproductive patterns. Species vary in the number of births per reproduction cycle, age that reproduction begins, and in the lifespan. Plants and animals are placed into groups based on their reproductive factors. Here is a chart. There are two different strategies, the R strategy and the K strategy. The R strategy, rate strategy, is adapted for fluctuating environments. They are generally very small organisms with a very short lifespan that reproduce very quickly with a lot of offspring per pregnancy. And they expend very little energy to raise their young. So basically, they're born and the parent just says, all right, go have fun, go figure this out. The K strategy is basically the opposite of that, okay? The carrying capacity strategy. It is adapted to stable environments that don't change very often. They are generally large organisms with a long lifespan. They have very few offspring over their lifetime, so they have maybe one or two offspring at a time, and they invest a lot of energy into nurturing those young. They spend a lot of time teaching them how to hunt, how to survive, how to avoid predators. And that's it, guys. Hopefully you can answer these 4 essential questions. If you have any questions, shoot me an email or we'll talk about it in class tomorrow.